Okay. Okay, shall we extend a round of applause to the director of On the Job, The Missing Eight, Erik Matti.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Hong Kong.
Hello, Erik. Well, thank you so much for this film, and thank you so much for granting us the opportunity to screen this film to our audiences here in Hong Kong. So, Erik, you're in Manila, right? I mean,
yes.
At this moment, yeah, it would be great if you could join us in person, but well, with the pandemic and all.
I'd love to. I really miss Hong Kong now. I miss eating in Hong Kong and going around places in Hong Kong, and I was hoping I could be there. But I'm glad that you guys have shared our film. Thank you.
Yes. Well, the audience here, they actually really love the film. But I'm sure they will want to know more about the background as well. I mean, the context in which the film emerged. So, Erik, can you tell us a little bit about what inspired you in making this story into a film?
Well, it all started after On the Job in 2012. Where we mostly concentrated on starting the story of prisoners going out of prison to kill, being made into assassins. I fast forward to 2017, 2016, we thought of continuing the franchise. But at that point, we wanted another sector of society to be part of the story. So aside from the politicians, aside from the police, and the prisoners, what else could they explore on the new story? And we started with just probably 3 topics. First, we thought of going into gambling. Second, we wanted to go into medical malfeasance. But then around 2016, because of the Trump presidency, a lot of the fake news stories came out. And we figured maybe that's a more interesting story to talk about. So that's where we really dug up a lot about journalism in the Philippines. And I think coming from the first one where it was done in the metropolis, we wanted to move into a new landscape for the film, which brings us to a more countryside setting, like the fictitious city province of La Paz that we created.
Would the real life massacre of a group of journalists in the southern Philippines a few years ago, would that be also part of your inspiration in creating this story and making the story the backdrop for the character's trajectory?
Yes, I think the whole On the Job, The Missing Eight is a composite of so many things that happened on a more journalistic story in the Philippines. Yes, definitely, that massacre is part of it. If you see in the film visually, the really great glaring visual device for showing the massacre is the backhoe, or the digger. And that's what we all remember as Filipinos of that incident, because several of the backhoes were brought to the location to dig up the bodies that were eventually found. And aside from that also, a lot of the characters are based on real life events. So like, for example, Sisoy's character is mainly a composite of probably 2 journalists that we know here in the Philippines. The corrupt version of the journalist is not just one person, maybe 2 or 3 famous, popular journalists in the Philippines that are paid off by politicians who have now forgotten to do the job as what real journalists do. And then the other side of it, which is the second half of Sisoy, is the more hard-hitting journalist that usually ends up dead. We wanted to hint on that part of the story because I want everyone to start thinking, oh, this guy is gonna die in the end. But of course, being a film and not a documentary, we were able to bring it to a different ending where we could offer a little more hope to the story of the Philippines.
So actually, how did you discuss this role? I mean, Sisoy with John Asilia, because he delivers such a magnificent performance, which won him the award, a Best Actor award at the Venice Film Festival. But when he agreed to take up Sisoy's role, how did you prepare him for that?
I think, and I'm not going to mention it here, no, but for most of the actors we've worked with, for example, you have Weng, Pagsibigan, Lot. She's really based on a journalist friend I know. Very, very focused, almost anal in the search for the truth, and it's always kind of grumpy. So when I casted Lot, and I've worked with Lot several times, and I know what she can do as an actor, I just talked to her and look at all the videos of Shara Zambrano. Even her costumes were based on Shara, and Shara was a friend, so I told her, okay, I'm gonna base one of the characters with you. With Sisoy also, I mentioned several journalists that we based it from, and I wanted him to get that kind of, for an actor, for a character, a protagonist to do the kind of swagger of Sisoy in the beginning, the kind of arrogance, charming arrogance, it's quite difficult to pull off unless you're basing it from somebody. So I think it really helped that I asked Sisoy also to do some research on that character. It's easy to be good on the last part of the film, but to embellish yourself as a protagonist with the not so nice personality traits of a character is really difficult. Also, when I go into somebody like Wendell Ramos, the son of the politician who is a senator, who's married to a beauty queen, literally married to a beauty queen, because the one we casted is really a beauty queen. And well, the tough negotiation there was, I told the beauty queen, you don't have much to say, you don't have anything much on the plot, but I really want a beauty queen for this role. So I hope you're okay with doing something that's not so meaty. And of course, she agreed. I'm happy she agreed. Megan Young, that's her name. She's the Miss World who won for the Philippines. And Wendell, I just told him to look at two senators that I based it from. Senators that, for an actor, you could look at them as ham actors, bordering on boring, because they're trying so hard to be nice. And I think Wendell really pulled it off. The biggest surprise is really Eusebio. Because Pedring Eusebio, without really telling him so much of who he really was based from, got it to a T. More than what I expected. Because this particular performance for a character based on real life is actually much more endearing and much more cinematic than the real person it was based from. Now, if I go into Roman, which is the most interesting character, the hardest part was to explain to Roman that I wanted him wounded, scarred, and I wanted to change his face, give him a new nose, put some false teeth in him, and I was operating from the idea that first look at him and you will not like a person that looks like that. But as the story progresses, you start to love a person. I'm just pulling off an irony where a lot of times the people who really end up being lovable in a film are beautiful people. But this time around, you're looking at a character who at the beginning is ugly and also kills people, and you think there's no redemption for this guy. But then later on, you see something beautiful come out of this guy, something more human, and Dennis Trillo embraced it easily.
Mhm. Okay, Erik, actually you can hear the noise of agreement among the audience here. I mean, so maybe I should just not monopolize the microphone. I'll just open it up to the floor. And if any of the audience would like to ask Erik a question, please feel free to raise your hand, and then my colleague will pass you the microphone. Okay, that gentleman over there. Oh, sorry, I'm not sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah, on the right. Okay, sure.
Hi, thank you for making a great film. I wonder if it's still possible to make a film like this in Hong Kong nowadays. But so, you know, I have two questions. The first one is probably, you know, how real are these issues still in the Philippines? I mean, I know it was really bad. It probably is still quite bad nowadays. I wonder if it's improving. Number two is making such a film with so many sensitive issues. Do you feel pressured or at risk in the environment of the Philippine, you know, media situation? I mean, obviously, I feel a bit scared right now asking this question, but but you know, come to Hong Kong soon, you know. Yeah. So sorry. So those are my two questions. Thank you.
Okay. For the first question, I think now it's even worse. There's a presidential election that's coming, and most of the ones that are popular that's going to end up being presidents are coming from a legacy of all these corruption and maybe without judging them too much, it's coming from traditional politics. So by having them again sit in the next election, we don't really know if there's going to be enough change that's going to happen. I think together with the pandemic, the last 6 years with the last president was really one of the worst. If you see in the film, Marcos is really a representation of what we want to change in our past so that we could move forward as a much better country. But what the last administration did in the last 6 years really beat what Marcos did in the 20 years that he reigned. So compare that 20 years and the 6 years, that's a lot of difference, right? And it seems like the sad part there, it seems like there's no hope in making a change. There's one presidential candidate that's running that quite speaks about a good change, but that candidate has no money and quite looks like an elitist politics. It looks too middle class that we don't think they would be able to get to the grassroots. So I'm really scared about what's going to happen in the next election. I really want to see things change. On the journalistic side, I think it has gotten worse because they've closed down the #1 network in the Philippines, TV network, that also does news. And also, the Rappler has closed also for 2 years now. They've been pressured by the last government to give in to their demands. So I hope they'd be reinstalled with the new president that's coming in, but we don't know. We don't know. Now, regarding how I seem to be very critical about our governance, both in the past and in the present, and how could that affect me? I think if I was so serious about presenting it like a documentary, then maybe my life would be in danger. But because it's wrapped up in a very entertaining 3 hour, of course it's 3 hours and 28 minutes, but I tried it to be as entertaining and as dynamic as possible, knowing how the Philippine politicians think. They would not see themselves in the film, even if they're the ones sitting there in the theater now. We are the kind of country where we point towards others for what's wrong with us, rather than saying, "Oh, that's probably me." So far, I'm not saying maybe you'll receive a news 1 month from now that I was gunned down coming out of my house, but so far, no one really cared about what from the government. No one really cared about what I said in the film. So I think I'm still safe.
Oh, that's good to hear, but you have to take care, right? Okay, I see that there are still quite a few questions up there. Okay, so
very happy to know that you're safe. Yeah, because this is also one of my concern. Thank you so much to make this movie. You are very brave and have a big test. And then actually, I think this kind of things happen in many countries, not only Philippines. And nowadays, I also treasure all the chances to watch this kind of movie, even in Hong Kong. That's why I try my best to buy all the tickets in this festival, 2021.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and because maybe sometimes I think maybe we don't feel fear enough or not scared enough. That's why we don't do anything, or to silence sometimes. But I wonder if fear and hope they come at the same time. Because of fear, there always hope. And or if we don't have fear, actually we don't need hope. Maybe I don't know. But I want to say the younger daughter in the movie is very pretty. She's so attractive to my eyes, so pretty, and she's so young. And the main actor also quite handsome. I don't know whether the reporter in Hong Kong is so handsome like him. and I hope all the directors in the world who produce these kind of movies, who try to telling the truth in the hidden side or whatever, I wish them all healthy, safe, and long life. And also, I hope the world will become peaceful and everyone should live equally the same, the atmosphere. I don't have a question. I don't know what to answer. I want to say thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Coming from what you said, I think we both share, Hong Kong and the Philippines, our own kind of issues and problems. And I think in the past 6 years, we've been threatened enough to silence everything that we want to say. Maybe I'm glad that if this came out, the film was made 4 years in the making. If this film finished immediately at the time we intended it finished, maybe I would have gotten a lot of problems in terms of safety and criticism from the government. but because we are in the tail end of this present government's tenure, and they're not really popular now at the moment because of what they didn't do during the pandemic. I think I'm in a much better place to show this film and maybe to be heard by not just the Filipinos, but by people everywhere because of festivals like this.
Yes, thank you so much, Eric. And I think we still have time for one more question. The gentleman.
Hi, congratulations. We're Filipinos. We're so proud of the film. Mabuhay.
Mabuhay.
Yes.
Yay. Salamat
so,
sa suporta.
Salamat po sa film. So we're actually actors here, and then we have also some professionals here. A doctor here with us. And personally, for myself, my sister, she used to be a journalist in Manila. So I can say, I can confirm some of the events there are actually true. So my question is, you know, this is such a sensitive topic right now. What challenges have you faced in producing this film? What kind of opposition you faced, and how did that affect the creative process?
I think in terms of production, we were quite free to go about producing this film because nobody really knew what the story was about. Even within the film industry, nobody knew what kind of story we were tackling. Even my closest filmmaker friends, we kept the story hidden from everyone, primarily because of the topic, primarily because of the sensitive scenes. And I'm talking to you now as a Filipino, definitely you will look at the film different from a foreigner's perspective because if you know us Filipinos, you would see specifically things that are coming from a very Filipino idea with what's happening in our country. You would definitely see hints of where these characters were based from. You will definitely see the backhoe differently from where other people would look at it. I think all this time when we were trying to finish the film and it was taking time to finish it, I was just hoping to be able to show it within the tenure of this present government. I didn't want this present government to change until they see this film. It's a good thing that we were able, despite the pandemic, we were able to get this off the ground this year and was able to present it to everyone. Present it to everyone meaning in the Philippines, I wasn't able to present it in the theaters, but with HBO, second to Game of Thrones, it was the highest viewed content ever since it opened. So I'm just glad that so many Filipinos were able to see it. Now, my main concern is, yes, it works as a movie, it works as a film, but I really want people to come out of the theater to look at it from what it's trying to say and moving forward, what the film could possibly do for change or for us to never make another mistake again.
Yes, from the reaction of the audience here, we still have a lot of our friends here who would want to ask questions, but sadly we've run out of time. But from the reaction and from the response, I'm sure that your film, Erik, has inspired all of us here.
Thank you so much.
Well, about film and about freedom and about everything. So thank you so much. Shall we give a round of applause again to Erik Matti, the director of On the Job, The Missing Eight. Thank you so much, Erik, for joining us. Okay, for your next film, you've got to come here.
Yeah. I miss Hong Kong.
Yes, thank you so much, Erik. Bye-bye.